Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone. I got a special holiday podcast for you all. Monte and I, this Christmas Eve, took some time to put together our expectations for next year and also do some catch up. Monte, as you guys don't know, is one of the top analysts in the world, a true one percenter. His performance is tracked publicly on Seeking Alpha, as he's one of the best writers there, does a bunch of live shows whenever companies have earnings. Many people look to Monte to see what's going on and for the deep analysis of really the foundation of these companies, really dig into the fundamentals. And so I love bouncing ideas off of him. And he's also one of our Discord members, of course, and he will soon be teaching his own class at MBT. So make sure you check out the link in the bio if you want to be a participant in Monte's classes and learn from him directly. So we had a great podcast, but it's very long. So make sure you check out the links in the bio, the timestamps, so you can kind of skip around or skip past parts that you find kind of boring. And I do want to say there was definitely some audio issues on Monte's end, as he is traveling right now, but still took the time to do a podcast because he's awesome. And so there might be some connection issues. Anytime you have a connection issue, I tried to summarize what he said if I felt like it was hard to understand, but there are brief moments that quickly pass. So hopefully you have no trouble understanding. I'll be watching the comments. You got questions, we got answers. With that, I hope you enjoy, and God bless. The first week of trading post kiddo was something else, because it's just you're just not as mentally sharp when you're not getting any sleep. And then by the second week, I was like starting to adjust, and then I feel like by the third week, I was like, okay, I'm back in it. But I just like so sleep deprived, and you show up and you gotta be like, you just gotta be on point, you know. You can't be like half-assing it, you know, because it's And I would say probably that first week I was kind of half-assing it, and I think it showed in my performance too, where I was like, "What is going on?"
I mean, you got your nerve injury on top of that, so it cannot be easy at all. I mean,
no,
you got like 3 things going on.
Yeah, I mean, at least by then I had worked back to the point where I could sit here in the office. I couldn't even sit in the office. That's how bad it was. And even then, I kind of.
Did I lose you there, or?
Hang on, looks like you're having some connection problems. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that any better, or is it pretty bad over here?
No, it's good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost your video on my phone, but if you can see and hear me, that works.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, good.
It might have just paused my video for your connection if your connection's a little iffy. But so good adjustment with that. Then we're at the same time, all that's going on, we're like doing a bunch of new stuff for the Discord, and we're bringing on different coaches and mentors, and I'm finalizing partnerships, and we're creating new bots, and I'm trying to manage that all. And
it's like I blinked for a day, and you know, in Fight Club when Project Chaos kind of just sprouts up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's like, man, I was off the Discord for like a week. I think I was traveling or something. I come back and it's like, oh man, you're doing like class every night and all this other stuff. It's like, man, what did I miss here?
Yeah, it's been good. The growth's been good too, so I've been really happy, and we've got a lot of really cool partnerships and guest speakers and like private interviews and stuff coming up next year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I think we got, I don't want to give too much away just quite yet publicly, but yeah, because I don't know, you know how it is sometimes. If you hype it up and then someone drops out, they don't pull through, and it's like crap. Now I have to, I would try to, early on I would always build everything up, and then some stuff would fall through and I'd be like, damn it. So I only build up the hype for something if I'm fully behind it and it's me putting it forward.
Yeah, it happens, man.
At the end of the day, that's all you can really count on. So Besides our
You
coder,
never know.
but he's incentivized
He's
by it.
pretty on it.
Yeah, our developers.
He's got a
He
couple bucks behind it.
he's got the right incentives, so yeah, he's pretty on it. But yeah, it's fun. It's been fun, man.
Yeah,
How's the Substack doing?
it's doing pretty good. It's also building momentum. Been kind of I had a probably the biggest change yet a couple about a month ago or so, where just completely changed the nameplate. No longer the Peach Pit. Decided, all right, if I'm going to be doing some other deals, time to get a real professional name on there. So it's now Monte Independent Investment Research, which is a mouthful. So Substack itself, it's Monte Investments, and I think the website, which I've not done any development on, is Monte Investment Research. So it's a work in progress on that. But on the Substack, it's bi-weekly Tuesdays. It's kind of a macro update, a couple trade ideas that I've been researching on Seeking Alpha, and then on Fridays it's a single name stock idea. Right now it's been virtually all industrials. It just seems like one of those areas that's been overlooked for so long that you know there's a lot of kind of like a lot of different fire pokers in this mix that can go right but can also go wrong if it doesn't happen, that can just turn up the heat for these companies. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of your specialty too. You're always diving into that sector. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah, a
cool
little
though.
bit of
I like the
energy here and
brand.
there. Yeah.
I like the brand change too. So let me ask: are you gonna start your own? Are you gonna be a BD? Are you gonna be, or how's that? Are you just gonna be a IR? Are you just gonna be a, or how's that gonna operate? Are you build your own book?
Yeah. It's been something I've been rolling around the back of my mind for the last year or two. And it's the next logical step at this point, where honestly the only difference in my day that, well, there might be a couple differences, including waking up at a more appropriate hour for trading hours, but
Yeah,
but as far as like, the research goes, the portfolio building goes, that's all going to stay the same. It's just going to be putting other people's money behind it now and bringing in clients. I mean, when you have a couple friends call you up and ask for help and you can't do anything about it because you don't have a RA tied to your name, it's kind of hard to really be impactful without just, doing something under the table, which I wouldn't do myself. But
yeah.
it'll be nice being able to help people out a little bit more one-on-one on that basis. The Substack, it's designed to let you manage it yourself. I give you all the trade ideas that I'm looking at, have the full model with the weights built out for you. Now it's time for me to manage that for you.
Yeah. So for the people who don't want to keep up with it.
Exactly. Yeah, just let someone else do it, and it's going to be the same stuff, just managed for them. So that's something I've been mowing around or rolling around in the back of my mind for some time. I enjoy the analyst stuff, but it's time to branch out, get some stuff to get some extra things to be able to take some
That
stuff off my, so to
that'll keep
speak.
you busy, busy, busy.
I
Yeah.
would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not like full on going in feet first on it either. It's more, go to the people that have reached out to me that wanted some help, work with them, and then kind of branch out from there. So I'm not going to be, smiling down 100 calls a day. I'm
Oh,
not going to
okay.
be. Yeah, it's more. I'm going to have my license tied. So something comes up, a friend comes up, or relative, or whatever, I can actually have an impact on their life instead of just telling them buy an index fund, buy the ag, forget about it. You know,
Yeah.
what else can
I
you
mean,
do?
that's kind of what I do. I'm like, well, you could join the Discord if you want to learn, but if you don't, just buy Spy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. It's
Yeah.
constantly top grading, and you can't. I mean, sure, it has its down years or whatever, but in the long run, by the time you're ready to retire, you're going to be well beyond most people,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
people with advisors.
Yes, especially if they're, yeah. Yep, who are just going to add extra fees and mutual funds that are basically going to be the same thing as the SPY index.
Yep. I saw your rant on American funds the other day, and I could 100% relate to that, man. You gotta, I don't remember what the fee was for those. I think it was like 1 or 1.5%.
There's some
And then you
higher,
tack
somewhere
on,
high as the 3%.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at them in at least 2, 3 years since I was working for someone else, but it's like, all right, so you're gonna tell me that we're gonna charge 1%, then they're gonna charge that client 2, 3%. So now their fees are 4% for a portfolio that underperforms the S&P 500. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, this is egregious,
And
man.
somehow holds the same exact stocks, like even the same
Uh-huh.
proportions. And I'm like, what? I guess they're actively trading it and they just suck because
Apparently.
I mean, it's kind of unreal. It's, I'm gonna finish. If people have been, I also give my updates, right? Every month I break
Mhm.
down what's in my portfolio, and then in between the months I make small comments like I'm adding a bit here, I'm gonna sell a bit here. I might even at times sell some calls against my position, but I try not to factor that into the overall performance. Okay, I try to subtract the performance made off the additional options that I do, and even while doing that, I'm about to finish the year beating the SPY index by 8x. So we're about to finish the year with
Not 8%, 8x.
8x. Yeah, so I'm about to finish
Yeah.
the year with about a little over 200% returns. And it's all handheld through there, This is what I'm holding this month.
Mhm.
This is what I'm holding this month. Now, I will say this is the first year where I did something ludicrously extreme that no advisor could ever do. Because when Tesla was 140, I started dumping half of my net worth into it, just about half my net worth into it. And then at one point it had grown to like 80% of my entire account because I ended up getting like a 165 average, and then Tesla, I mean, right now, not even at the highs, it's at like 460. So,
Mhm. It's insane how
yeah.
far it's. I mean, this is after the stock split, after it's reached 1,000 split,
Yeah.
and now it's on its way back up. It's
But
just what's going on.
but the thing is I made like 6 YouTube videos justifying that, and even told people where it's gonna
Hmm.
go. Like called my shot. This is all the reasons why there's no other growth company that's going to outperform this. And I even remember there's so many people argue, anytime you make a ballsy play like that, people think that's just crazy. And I'm like, it's crazy. But if you've been following me, or if people have been tracking like what I do on YouTube, or have known me before that, in the 10 years I've been doing this, I've never done anything like that. I've never felt that level of conviction that I was right and that this was an insane opportunity and it was time to pull the trigger and do something life changing. And yeah, I mean, doubling your investment account in 1 year, over doubling your investment, I over doubled my net worth in 1 year. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, I that was not including the options, because we even bought, I bought 400 call options that are supposed to expire next
Jeez.
year when it was at 200. Because I was thinking, oh, it'll probably hit 400 next year. My end of year target for this year was 300. Then it went to four. So I actually, when it hit 350, I did some selling because I was like, it's grown so much. Okay, I have to de-risk, because now I think it's head over heels. Like, it's too high now. Then it went to
Hmm.
450, and I was like, holy shit, I had to trim, I trimmed a major portion of it. So I'm coming into 2025 with a ton of cash, actually. Which I guess we should actually use that to transition into expectations for 2025, because I feel like last year, coming into 2024, I was actually really bearish when I did a review of my yearly predictions. And I remember by March I had like fully flipped to make a bull. Maybe you could probably argue it was probably in February. I had some of my subscribers tell me it was February that I flipped to make a bull, and was calling for 600 by the end of the year, which is about where we ended up, a little bit higher than that. But I came into last year make a bear, and I feel like I'm doing it again, and I feel like I'm gonna be kind of wrong again.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
have
did
a
my
feeling.
review.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
my review just last week, and it's one of those things where you want to come in as a bear, and you look at the facts, you look at the data, and it's like, how can you be bearish right now? I mean, yeah, the market's been on a tear for the last, what, 2, 3 years, but there's rationale behind it. Like, I can't remember the exact figure, but there's a couple $100 billion in capital investments being made across the hyperscalers just for GPUs and compute infrastructure and all this stuff. And it's like, this isn't over, man. This isn't even close to being over. The AI run, man. Like, sure, NVIDIA is kind of tapering off a bit in terms of, their growth capacity, but at the same time, you still have all this investment going on in compute that it doesn't make sense that's just going to halt and crater. Like you see post after post, whether it's on Twitter or X or LinkedIn or whatever, people calling for a peak and a bubble, and it's like, how can you rationalize that? Hyperscalers are trading at what, like high teens, low 20s to EBITDA for 2025, 2026. They have this huge R&D spend, they have this huge capital investment spend. All the CEOs, they synonymously state demand is outpacing supply or outstripping supply. You just hear all this good news, I guess, whatever you want to call it, in unison. And how can you expect that they're gonna flop? Like,
Yeah.
there's no
Well,
reasoning behind it.
let me play devil's advocate for you. What would you say to the people that would pitch forth? Well, where's the real profits being made from AI? Where's that at? Where do I see this company adopted AI and now they make X more?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's clearly in the infrastructure, but certain parts of the infrastructure. So GPUs, obviously, those are a big money grab. I'm just updating NVIDIA, or not NVIDIA, AMD from their last Q3 call. Got a little bit behind on some other stuff, so I'm just now getting to it. I mean, their growth is accelerating in data center, which is primarily GPUs. Their Instinct GPUs and an Epic that's on a tear as well. Their client compute segment that's growing at a higher rate than pretty much anyone in the PC business.
so
PC business is pretty dead,
but I mean,
flat down.
well, I mean, well, I got a few questions to ask to follow up to that, but I want to ask. Well, I agree. I saw that the one thing about AMD that I'm not even gonna call it concerning because you always pay a premium for what the market loves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people complain about the premiums that some of these companies trade at. I bought Kava when it was at 141 P to E ratio, and people thought it was ridiculous. And I netted a 90% return from that purchase, just because you just gotta kind of. I've almost found a ton of success with. I like this and it looks good on reviews, so buy and then do the deep dive. Like I've almost because there's so many times where I don't get into doing the research and then something explodes. So I almost I like this. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna take a possession and then I do the research. But I had so much success with that where by the time I'm doing the research, I'm already up like 20% on the purchase. So
I mean,
I don't know if I do that
to
with clients'
reference
money, but it works out great for me. If it passed the sniff
to
test, then I go for it. Yeah.
yeah, but for people that are listening, you don't just blindly buy it. You're charting it out. You're looking at what
Oh yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
the data. on the price chart says. I mean, you're doing a little bit more homework. I mean, I don't recommend anybody just do technical analysis and depend on that, but you
I'm
know, you have some basis and some understanding of what you're buying, and you know the price action, the momentum, all that technical jargon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what that is.
I'll
You're
have
not
that.
just going on Robinhood and click and buy.
Yeah, and then after I buy though, then I do the deep
Then you if I
dive.
do.
Let's look at management. I usually go deep on the companies that I own because I typically only own like 8 to 12 names. It's a very small portfolio. So,
Mhm.
um, but the point of that before I derailed it was AMD just traded this massive valuation, and when I look at the structure of the market in its entirety, it still feels like the Nvidia show, and and then when you play the comparison game and you stop worrying about the individual valuations, when you play the comparison game, when I see AMD actually trading at a higher premium than Nvidia, or I should rephrase as a higher multiple than Nvidia, that's when I actually start to get a little concerned because I just don't
Oh,
think.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the valuation of it, rather than
Yeah,
you know?
so for today's market, Nvidia absolutely has the upper hand just because of how good their GPUs are for training purposes. AMD, it's essentially, I believe what Wall Street's expecting is it's essentially going to switch sides to where when more AI applications start inferencing past the training, that's where AMD's GPUs really come into play. Um, I was doing some research on that. It was semi-analysis. I believe it was on a Substacker website, but they were talking about how oh, what was the technical term? It was like forward pass or whatever when you're analyzing the data or assessing the data. You know, they're better at the inference side for that reason. Um, Especially with the higher memory bandwidth on them. Whereas NVIDIA, it's better for I don't remember what it was called, but just going the back and forth for the training side. That's where their chips really shine. So it's like one of those things where NVIDIA's had their day. It's going to continue. Don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of work to be done for AI applications, but when things start rolling over to more inferencing, AMD's expected to really pick up from there. And they're rolling out their Instinct AI 325 this quarter and ramping that up for high volume sales in the first quarter of 25, and then rolling out their what is it MI 350 second half of 25, first half of 25, then MI 400, which I think that's supposed to be it's either 350 or 400. That's equivalent to the Blackwell 200, but that's being rolled out in 2026. So I mean they're moving at a similar cadence to Nvidia, going for 1 year, continuous upgrading on that. But
They're still like a full year
yeah,
behind.
the yeah the whole power play is when applications move more internal or towards inferencing on the cloud, whichever move it's going to be. I think a lot of apps are going to move to internal databases just because of the cost of data. But you know, AMD should see some pretty high growth in the next couple years, from what it sounds like, just on that basis.
I still
But
I still feel like we might see a situation where Nvidia kind of grows into its valuation a bit more. Like it's just the market
mm,
might chill on the buy because everyone, of course, was. I
they're
had
kind of
many.
panicking after earnings.
Uh, yeah, investors are, or Nvidia is, or
Yeah, Nvidia.
yeah. Oh,
Was it Nvidia? Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I just want to summarize kind of what you. I do want to provide a summary for, especially for the listener, because you were kind of faded in and out. You got a little robotic there because of the connection, but generally what you were saying there is as a Spark Notes version of what you said. even though AMD kind of is behind Nvidia in development, they do have specializations that they can excel at, and they are growing at a similar pace as well. So they are advancing and moving forward too. Is that fair?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like their MI 325, that's the one they're ramping up right now. That outperforms the H100 in terms of inferencing, not training, just inferencing. The MI 325 or 350, excuse me, 350, that should be closer to the H200, and the MI 400. That's going to be closer to Blackwell,
So
from what I understand.
yeah, and so I do think investors were kind of panicking after the last earnings, though, like you said,
Hmm.
and but what always shocks me is like when Nvidia feels pain, it's like all the other companies feel it even worse. And it's just like when
Absolutely.
when the sector moves, there is also on the semiconductor ETF a terrible chart setup that might be invalidated over, you know, we have the strongest 7 days coming up from the 25th to the 2nd. Maybe it invalidates it there, and maybe that hype even carries it to the beginning of January. That euphoria. But I'm a little cautious of sort of political things, which we could talk about in a moment. I want to hear your take, definitely on that. But
Absolutely.
I am kind of concerned on especially considering the rhetoric that I see generally across social media. Sure, you have the mega bears who have been bearish the entire year. They missed all the rallies, and everyone's like, "Oh, these bearish people, they're so smart." Well, guess what? The bulls made all the money. So,
Hmm.
you want to sound smart, or do you want to get rich? What are you gonna do? So who cares? And and so when I'm
They say
looking,
those that try to sound smart are less intelligent, so it kind of
yeah,
goes both ways.
yeah. It's security, right? It's like I didn't make any money, but I want to sound smart. Yeah, it's kind of what it often comes off to me as. But I am concerned that like the actual performance of the stock, despite the great performance of the company, could be a
Hmm.
bit lackluster. And that was my whole thesis behind purchasing Tesla. It was a bit of a revenge because I actually sold Nvidia too early. Um, and that sucked. That was a hard to bite bullet because when things go parabolic like that, it's so hard to chase it. Um, Once you sell and you sell for a great profit, and then you're like, well, if I buy it back now, am I buying a top? And it just
Hmm.
psychologically messes with you. But when I saw the opportunity on Tesla, I was like, this will outperform Nvidia probably over the next few years. Um,
I cannot believe I missed Tesla. Like it's like I did a preview on Seeking Alpha for Robotaxi Day, and then a post earnings commentary, and I was reviewing it just the other day and looking at the performance since publishing, and it's like up 85%. It's like, oh my God. I
yeah,
I should listen to my own advice sometimes.
yeah. No, it was a great one. Yeah, yeah, you've gotten a lot right. For those unaware, like Monte's like one of the best. I mean, he's the best analyst that I know. He's a member of the Discord for that reason. You're one of our you know, you have a special badge in our trading community because of that. Um, but
What they
I,
call me, bigger tech.
where they call you Bigger Texas, a well earned name, a well earned name. So I also, yeah, I think we should get into the politics. You kind of you're kind of in agreement that like Nvidia's actual the company might do well, but the actual stock performance might be a lackluster because it might need some time to actually grow into its current evaluation. I mean, the company's over
Yeah.
$3 trillion. I guess before we get into politics, actually, I
I
want to.
mean, what was it? It was sub a trillion like a year ago or so.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
long ago? Yeah, it's blown up parabolically. But I mean, to finish up, I want to kind of finish up answering your question about which AI stocks or which areas of AI make money, because the GPU side, that's where a lot of the money is for Nvidia and AMD. Um, and that's going to be a constant upgrade cycle from what I understand. And kind of fishing back towards the hyperscalers, I mean, other than Alphabet, they're running at like 20 something, 30% margins, operating margins on their cloud services. So there's good money being made on cloud hosting, whether it's general compute or AI related, which it seems like a lot of it's moving more towards AI type compute. So there's a lot of money being made on that. And then you have the custom ASICs that made headlines after Broadcom's earnings release, where they're developing the chips for like Amazon that are there to compete with with Nvidia's chips or AMD's chips, just house made. And the whole theory behind it is let's give our customers more optionality, and because they're custom for their infrastructure, it's purpose built. It should have better price performance, lower power usage, things like that. So, it seems like the hyperscalers are really putting a lot of cash forward on this whole AI thing. Um, so a lot of it seems to be on the infrastructure side. What really caught me off guard during the cycle is the infrastructure aggregators like Dell and HP Enterprise, not HPQ, HPE, just to clarify, where they make some good revenue on the AI infrastructure, but it's just a margin killer for them because a lot of it's being sold. I think it was like something like 50% being sold to the cloud service providers, the CSPs, and they just kill the margins for them. So it's a little bit margin deteriorating in a sense. So that's kind of the push and take for that. So if I had to put my money somewhere for AI for the next year, my top two picks are Marvel and Broadcom for custom ASICs and the hyperscalers. You can put money in Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet. You pick your poison, and that's going to be high growth in that specific segment. Amazon, it might have a little bit of pull on the consumer side, but as far as the hyperscaler side goes, the data center side goes, it should be doing pretty well. Um, I do want to make one last note on this, kind of as a sidebar, where it seems like a lot of the market is catching up to my concerning constraint, which when did I bring that up? Probably like 6 months ago or so,
Mm-hmm.
that power was going to become an issue for
Mm-hmm.
the hyperscalers. The grid's kind of pretty close or at capacity right now. Microsoft's working with Constellation to turn back 3 Mile Island, which is going to generate something like 800 megawatts
Yep.
of power for their data centers.
Yeah.
So if you
They're
take that into
not.
consideration,
Just to add a tidbit there, they're not the only ones though, because Amazon's creating new partnerships. Google did as well. Like they're all, yeah, yeah,
and these are going to be huge projects. Like you're looking at SMRs, they're going to be generating 200, 300 megawatts per facility. So you're going to be stacking those up. And if you think about just the amount of capacity for compute that's supposed to be coming online in the next, I don't know, let's call it 10 years. You have Oracle Corp, which is one of my favorite companies for AI. They're in line to build like 100 new data centers, and I don't know, whatever time frame, let's call it 10 years. Their largest data center they announced last quarter is 1.6 gigawatts in capacity. And bear in mind, a traditional data center is like 34 megawatts. This is 1.6 gigawatts in capacity. This is a monster fucker. And just like thinking about how are they going to source the power? They need one of those mega reactors, like the old nuclear reactors they used to build back in like the 60s or whatever, and
yeah.
they were just massive. Like SMRs, they're going to need, I don't know, 4 or 5 SMRs at 200 capacity just to power that thing. Like,
Right.
or no, 5 would get them to a gig. So they need what's that, 7?
Yeah.
Let's call it 7. They need 7 SMRs to power that thing. It's like this isn't a small project. They're building multiple 200 megawatt facilities, just these massive data centers that are the size of a city
Yeah.
to cater to the demand of how many users want to develop AI applications. Like it's just incredible. So, circling back, I don't think the AI story is over. I just think it's going to be delayed because of that power constraint. Like
Okay.
SMRs, that's not going to be hitting the market till 2030, 2035. So we have like five or so years, 5 to 10 years before those are up and running and can fill that capacity. And then, so shifting to our market prediction,
Well,
that kind
I
of
would.
transitions well to natural gas.
Okay. Oh wait, are you we could go into this. Are you so let me ask, is it all about liquid and natural gas?
Natural gas in general. So, um, assuming it's all domestically built, the data centers, and so I'm taking bringing in a lot of assumptions into this, where excess nuclear isn't going to be available until 2030. So you have a 5 year lag time between now and then, and that the hyperscalers would be willing to use natural gas to power their facilities in the meantime. So I'm assuming that domestic producers will have their heyday,
Hmm.
not just because LNG export terminals are being built again, being approved again after this year's kickstart, or what was it? Our current administration put a block on new facilities being approved and built. So now that that's rolled over, you're seeing new LNG capacity coming online this next year that had already been approved, already in the process of being built, like the Golden Pass, which is ExxonMobil's and Qatar Energy's LNG facility. And then you have I can never remember how to pronounce it. It's like Plagiaris or whatever, the one in Louisiana that's being built, that should provide some excess capacity. So there's a lot of LNG capacity coming online this coming year, and then it's just going to accelerate from there. You're seeing more trade involved. You're seeing more offshore floating platforms being used, like with Golar, which is a company I wrote
What?
about on the Substack.
Let me ask, what's the time horizon on those coming online?
For Golden Pass and the one in Louisiana, I believe that should be. They were targeting right about now, but they had some construction issues. The Golden Pass did with their contractor. They ended up filing Chapter 11. Uh, I don't remember what the cause was. It was something with payments. Um, it was weird. It was fishy. It's not my problem, but it essentially delayed the project by a quarter or so. So it should be up and running on at least by mid 2025.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, and then considering that you're going to have domestic demand for natural gas for the data centers, there should be a
yeah.
pretty good price swing as far as natural gas prices goes.
I know Abraham has been all over natural gas futures. He's been literally probably for like the past week and a half. Natural gas futures have been going crazy, and it's not a trade that I've moved on, but it's one that he's been informing our community on because it's pretty much like every day it's like another 8 to 15% move up. So I'm kind of wondering if that's a trade for the beginning of the year that then blows off as more of these come online, and then you kind of get the saturation in the market. But
Hmm.
that's
I
have you?
stay out of futures.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, like natural gas, you're going to see bigger price swings than oil, so it's
right.
probably better for a swing trader.
It's a
But
widowmaker.
hmm
Yeah,
it can kill you. It can make you a mansion.
yeah, because it
Pick
gets.
one.
I remember when it was really popular during when the Ukraine crisis first occurred, and
Oh yeah,
or when there
got
was the major
like eight,
prediction.
$9.
Yeah, there was a bunch of speculation on, when gas prices were skyrocketing throughout Europe and London, and it's to the point where it actually started affecting small businesses and stuff. And people were like, "Oh, if the winter is cold, it's game over." Of
Hmm.
course, we weren't in the. It wasn't the seasonality for cold winters, although it's going to start becoming that. Um, I, I believe even this winter should get really cold, but it's really kick in next year. Um,
It's cold here.
yeah,
You can see my
yeah.
breath on the camera.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I was actually like, is I can't tell if it's the cigar or if it is the breath sometimes, but
Nah,
yeah.
this is all.
Okay. um, yeah. So, But I remember that became quite the widowmaker trade because when natural gas hits like its capacity and the market gets saturation, they rug it
Mhm.
hard. Yeah, so that's a
Yeah,
brutal
it's
thing to
very dependent
trade.
on the weather.
Yeah,
Very
it's
dependent on the weather.
brutal trade. Yeah. Interesting. So, um,
So stick with the producers if you're like me and
yeah.
aren't a
Do you have a
good day.
favorite? So, are those your favorite companies, the ones you mentioned, or do you have a few? You have one that stands out to you the most, or
As far as natural gas goes, I really like EQT. So this year they recently rolled back in what was it? Equitrans, their midstream operator. So they're running that synonymously now under EQT. They do a lot of work up there in the Appalachia region, which is lower cost when compared to the Haynesville-Bossier region. Um, so for domestic purposes, they should be really well off. For transport, for LNG exports, I mean, initially I was pretty bullish on what was it, Southwestern and Comstock. Comstock went all in on Haynesville, and that bit them on the ass pretty hard,
yeah,
just for LNG export. And then when the president put a pause on new capacity, that just killed their stock price to the point where they're thinking about taking that company private, which that would be good for them. It's better that way, especially with that region.
right,
But it's a higher cost, but it's just geographically better position for LNG export. It's closer to the terminal, less transport, things of that sort. But EQT is my favorite domestic gas producer. They should do pretty well. I did an update recently on One Oak midstream. So the good thing about One Oak is they're C corp and non MLP. And for those listening, C corp is a bit easier on how you file your taxes in MLP. You're a limited partner. You have to receive a K1. They're usually late, so you have to file your taxes late. Yada yada yada. They're a pain in the ass. So One Oak, it's going to trade at a bit more of a premium to the broader market, or I guess the midstream market, but it's a C corp. They're primarily focused in the Permian Basin, which is the hot ticket for oil and gas production. If I remember correctly, Permian was about 60-40 oil to gas production. Excuse me. So it's a pretty oily basin, but pretty good gas production as well. So they've been getting into the business of oil transport over there too. So they're diversifying and hedging in a sense, but they're also why I bring them up as well is they're also in talks with a few of the hyperscalers for providing baseload capacity for power production. So there's talks with the midstream guys, the producers, all these guys to figure out how do we light up these data centers so they can be, if you want to call it an AI play as well, just on the energy side.
yeah.
So those two companies are the favorites, EQT and One Oak.
So, I mean, we got to also talk about nuclear. Does anything in nuclear kind of stand out for you on the power side? Because
Yeah,
I know that even Australia has made big commitments on nuclear. Even uh, actually, I'm a bit fuzzy on if the legislation actually went through or if it was being proposed and voted on. But I believe there was actually some political pushes to turn more nuclear on. I know there's already been some political pushes in Europe, and of course we know that Asia's full steam ahead of everyone, because
mhm.
the Western world is asleep at the wheel.
Bureaucratic.
Yeah, yeah, more bureaucratic. I almost just want to say a little bit more incompetent when it comes to the understanding of the necessity. But
I said it in a nice way.
yeah, yeah. But at least we're not Canada. That's what I think every day. Um,
Thank God.
sorry, Canadians. Your government is probably the worst in the world.
I don't
Uh,
know. They might be part of us soon, the
yeah.
way it's going. I
Maybe,
saw their
maybe bring some.
PPI figures this morning. It looked pretty bad.
Did it? Oh, jeez. I
Their
don't.
currency's in decline. Producer prices are up. It's like, man, I thought they were doing good over there.
I know a lot of people around Trudeau have resigned, but I'm waiting for him to just run for the hills. You know, that's that'll be the buy the dip moment when he pieces out. Because
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's hard to think about a world leader who's worse than him. You could obviously say, "Oh, North Korea is worse," but you have to think who is
You could say
unintentionally
Al
more.
Qaeda's worse, but I
But
mean,
they're intentionally bad. You know,
actually,
is there anyone who's unintentionally as bad as him,
no.
or maybe he is truly is nefarious? But I actually think he is just truly
He
bad.
has to
And
be.
yeah, that's what happens when you make a substitute teacher a prime minister. No offense, substitute. I shouldn't have said that. I take it back. I didn't say that. It's truly just a reflection of him as an individual. It has nothing to do with the profession. I just
I
thought that.
just go back to
I just
that
was trying to
one
be funny.
picture of him at the
Um,
party.
yeah, but
I'm not gonna describe it beyond that. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, but
yeah,
the
yeah,
one scandalous picture online of him from the party. It's like, yep,
yeah,
that's the Prime Minister of Canada.
yep. So
That
wait,
explains it.
I at the so in the nuclear space, you've done a lot of
Yeah.
deep dives on nuclear, and one of your picks, I believe, was CEG, and I kept an eye on it, and it finally found its
Mhm.
home in my portfolio, even.
Yeah,
Which
Constellation is definitely going to be a long-term investment to
right,
where, from what I understand, they're putting on 2,000 megawatts of capacity in the next 2, 3 years through 28. So big proportion of it's going to be 3 Mile Island coming back online. And then the rest is going to be kind of like expansions and upgrades to existing facilities. So there's no new facilities coming online for them in the near term, but they are interested in SMRs. From what I understand, they built out a little internal program for SMRs.
right.
So they're not the ones that are going to be building them. Just to reference, they're the ones that are going to be managing and operating them, connecting them to the grid, things of that sort. So they're interested in the programs, which that's going to be, of course, the go-to for these hyperscalers. So I think they're pretty well positioned for that. Their largest nuclear footprint in the United States. They expanded their footprint in Texas with some acquisitions. I mean, they're just a powerhouse for nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's something we're taking into consideration, keeping in the back of your mind. Um, so they should be pretty well positioned to cater to data center necessities. But one company I wrote about, it has to have been like 6 months ago now or longer. GE Vernova. They were
Okay.
a spinoff from
I remember that.
parent code GE, of course, but they're more of the electricity uh, arm of GE, where they do like the gas turbines, things of that sort. They're developing plans for SMRs. They have their nuclear arm for traditional nuclear facilities for the turbines. They do offshore wind, onshore wind, which I'd like them to sell and get out of. Offshore, it's not profitable. I don't think it's going to be profitable. I mean, rates are going down, so it might eventually be profitable, but it's just a tough business to be in. And then they do electricity transmission grid type stuff. They have a software package for it. Um, they pretty much cover most areas of power transmission. So
Hmm.
they're my top pick for electricity. The beauty behind some of their gas turbines is that they can be converted to hydrogen. So if let's say a hyperscaler puts in a gas plant, hydrogen becomes more readily available. They can transition it to hydrogen without changing the hardware. So it provides them optionality to be more green, which when we get into the politics side shouldn't matter for them in the next 4 years, but regardless, um, it'll provide a pretty good landscape for them.
Okay.
So they're my top choice
All
for
right.
nuclear. And that's nuclear
I'll have to do more
power.
digging
You know,
into
you have
them.
your miners and
Right,
uh
right. The CCJs and the there's too many.
CCJs, Quad U's,
Yep.
all those guys, Energy Fuels,
UEC. What was the
Uranium Energy
Australian one?
Corp.
Where was that penny? I was
Oh,
just
that
trying.
was Boss Energy, that one.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've written about them a couple times.
I can't remember the ticker, but
It
yeah,
was like one of those weird tickers. It was like BQSSF or something like that.
yeah, it was something odd.
It was
Yeah.
some weird, but yeah, they're kind of interesting. So they're um co-developing the Alta Mesa project in Texas, which is kind of cool. So they have their honeymoon mine out there in Australia, and then they're developing that mine down in Texas, which should expand their or their production capacity pretty well. Um,
Hmm.
what's interesting is that they're exporting the uranium from, or I think they're planning to export the uranium from Australia to the United States, and I guess they're gonna keep the domestic production in the United States. It sounds like, well, I would expect, but one of the biggest hangups I hear about nuclear and uranium is refining it, you know? Like, I think Energy Fuels is the only company domestically that has uranium refineries to turn it into the fuel, whatever grade it needs to be for fuel. And then the majority of capacities out there in Russia, which is embargoed now. So that can be a pretty nasty constraint in the near term. So I need to dig that out, figure out who's going to be developing more of the refining capacity. So that can be a nice money maker for somebody.
Yeah. I guess I think I'm too far removed from the research. I might have known the answer to that at one point, but I don't. I don't have it at my current recall right now. Okay, that'll be something to look into. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
insight. So I wanna transition a little bit here. We've done a good amount of energy. I wanna I wanna talk about. Well, I guess the only we have to talk about all the seven. We've kind of hit on most of them in some way, shape, or form, except Apple, which is actually right now trading at all-time new highs. Um, well, first, let me ask: do you track Apple to any extent? Have you written any reports about them, or
You know, they've been on my list for a couple months. I wanted to hit the whole Mag 7. I hit the top hyperscalers finally got Meta rolled in there, which can I talk about Meta for a second?
yeah? Let's talk about Meta.
Dude, their Orion glasses are going to be the next hot thing. Like remember like when Google Glass came out that was supposed to be a computer on your face? Like have you seen the videos or pictures for Orion?
I don't. I well, you know what? I think I have. Yeah. Because
So from what
now,
I got,
let me be clear
huh?
though. This isn't like Oculus, right? This is AR, not like virtual.
Correct.
Okay.
So
Yeah. All right.
these are meant to sound your face like normal glasses. They're a little bit
Oh, they
thicker,
partnered with. Did
like
they
think
part?
Weezer glasses.
They partnered with Ray Ban on it,
So that's
or is that a different
I
thing?
don't remember what that model's called, but that's a different thing for the camera. So this
Okay.
is a totally new beta project. They're only testing internally and with some external testers, but so it's kind of like those Coke bottle black glasses that you see the Weezer guys wearing, just really thick. They're not like the most appealing looking glasses, but they're way more appealing than any headset on the market right now. And they use a micro LED for the lenses. So that's essentially what those if you look at those display conferences and things like that, that's like the display that can roll up and fold and do all that flexibility stuff. Like what a phone what like those beta test phones were made of or something like that, where you can just roll it out from, I don't know, your pocket. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it has micro LED lenses and the whole and it has like these lightweight wristbands. It's all wireless, so it has like these lightweight wristbands you put on, and you can essentially do what was that movie? Total Recall. with Tom Cruise. Just like walk around at an Excel model while you're on the train or something.
Oh, okay,
Just
yeah.
flip on
Well,
your
that's
glasses and you can get to work.
is that similar to what like the iPad Pro does? How big are these things?
I mean, they're as low profile as they get, man. Like for a small computer that you wear on your face, these literally look like a little bit thicker glasses.
Oh wow, these
Are
are
you looking them up right now?
so compact. Yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna throw them up on the screen for viewers. Look at.
Like my concern would be like um
Wait, these are just the
battery
Ray-Ban ones.
capacity.
Now these Ray-Ban ones just have a camera, right? That's not what I want.
Correct. You want? I think it's Orion.
Uh, anyways, continue. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Actually, no. Here I got the
But
webpage.
yeah, it's yeah, yeah. Pull
Yeah.
that up. I mean, that's what
Okay.
makes me excited about Meta.
They still.
I mean, sleek. They're. I mean, they're bulky. Don't get me wrong. They're not like perfect. You're not going to just put them on your face and no one's going to know what it is. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just making strides from what has been tried so far. Like with Apple's what's it called Pro that flopped. Um, it's just I don't know. It's like what it's like going from an x86 CPU to an NVIDIA H100, that equivalent, but for your face.
Interesting. I'm gonna run a poll. I'm gonna run a poll for our community, and I'm gonna see.
Would you wear these?
Yep. Would you wear these? Yeah. Let's
What if
see.
Austin Powers was wearing them?
Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
He would.
he would. It is an actual perfect Austin Powers type of fashion. All right, let's run a
Oh yeah.
let's run this little poll and see what kind of
See what the
reactions we
viewers
get.
think.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll see at least what the community thinks. But
Yeah,
anyways,
and while
that's
we're waiting
interesting.
on that,
Well, I mean, we'll check we'll
Apple,
check in before the end of the pod. We'll see.
yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of late. We're doing this podcast kind of late and on Christmas Eve, so I don't even know if anyone will do the poll. We'll see. But um, that's some cool projects from Meta. I will say, is there anything else about the company that you thought was interesting, or is that just what is that besides this that it really excites you?
yeah, that's what piqued my attention, honestly. Like, I mean, as far as like slow growth goes, their platforms are doing just fine, all that stuff. But I mean, that's the general story behind the company, just like the novelty of the glasses. I mean, that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd buy those. I don't usually buy stuff like that, but I'd buy a pair of those to use on the fly. I mean, can you imagine you're on the road, set up shop, you have your little Starlink off the grid deal, and you bust those bad boys out and connect up to the internet. Now that'd be cool.
Yeah, it will be cool. It'll be the future is definitely this. I just think it needs to get even just a little bit smaller. I will say the capabilities that I'm seeing when I scan across this web page are almost comparable to Apple, but this thing is
Hmm.
literally like 1/10 of the size of so big. I mean, egg on the face for Apple looking at these things. Like, no wonder Apple gave up on that project because
Oh, big time.
they are way behind, which is not what you typically expect from Apple. I mean, this looks. We'll see. We'll see what the UI is actually like, but a nice little compact case
Yeah,
that
kind
fits
of
in
let
your
them beta
pocket.
test it, figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll see if
But yeah,
featured.
when I see Apple's Vision Pro, it's like you look like a Scooby Doo villain with the Apple Vision Pro. Like I don't
Yeah,
remember which guy it was, like the deep sea dude, deep
yeah.
sea diver.
You
That's
look
what it
like
makes me think of. It's such an
what is the X-Men guy like? This is Cyclops. You
oh
look like
Cyclops.
yeah, special
Yeah.
special ed version of Cyclops. Yeah, it's really what it looks like. And he just that
The
product.
Special Olympics Cyclops.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just
How
any.
down are you for those glasses?
But I mean, quite honestly, when you see the videos of people wearing them out in public, it's like, oh gosh, this is so bad for
It looks
PR.
so bad.
Yeah, it's just the culture wasn't there, and I think that's probably why Cook pulled out of it. But Cook he isn't Steve Jobs. He's an operator. He's not a creative
Not a
guy.
visionary.
He's not a visionary. He's not even close. So, and you can kind
Mm,
of, it shows more and more every year that you get that the universe around them continues to move forward, and Apple kind of just plays the copycat game, except they're losing their touch, even when it comes to that. But yeah, I like Meta. The one thing I will say that kind of concerns me about Meta is that we had this current TikTok ban on the table that people think is going to happen, and that
mm,
is a huge boost for Meta if it does happen. We've seen in countries where it was banned, like India, that usage of other social media applications like Instagram shot to the moon as everyone transitioned over. But what really shocked me was even though that bill's on the table and seems to be moving forward, is TikTok's private market valuation has continued to skyrocket. It's actually nearly doubled since the first
oh
mention
yeah.
of the ban. So, in my opinion, that money's not going to be set on fire. By the way, everyone's saying no to
No.
wearing those glasses.
I mean, Trump is backing. He's supporting TikTok now. I mean,
Well, he
he kind
got.
of backpedaled out of that.
I mean, I made a short video about that ages ago where one of the biggest private investors in TikTok is a good friend of Trump's, who's part of his golf crew. He's a big investor in Meta as well, and went and visited Trump. And then, literally 1 week later, after that visitation, Trump comes out and says, "Yeah, I'm not going to ban TikTok." I wonder. I'm like, I wonder if there's a
Yeah, there's
correlation.
some money involved.
Yeah, the guy, everyone, maybe he's the big thing about him was he's too rich to be bought out. Yeah, but everyone has friends, and everyone loves to do their friends a favor.
Mm,
Especially the rich friends a favor because rich friends can give the best favors. But I wonder. So, in my opinion, someone's gonna buy TikTok, or they're
oh,
trying to
someone
push it.
has to.
Yeah, so a group will get together, or China will divest, or someone knows something's worked out. Otherwise investors would be
Honestly,
panicking out of that.
honestly, like, I don't know why they haven't considered having, like, I don't know how you would call it, maybe joint operations or something where you have a US team, it's completely firewalled from China. There's no communication. You just have like a rest of the world app for TikTok, and then
Well, I
you have
mean,
China TikTok.
that's what they say, but
Like, look at all the tech companies. And automotive companies, they have, I don't know, GM China or what's one of the chip companies that does that? Micron China or not Micron, ARM. ARM does
yeah,
that. ARM
yeah,
China,
yeah,
where it's a
yeah,
completely separate entity. ARM China pays ARM licensing fees and other fees for their technology. It's like, why can't they just do that? Just it would
they
only be the logical thing to do.
yeah, they're just not allowed.
Well, like the problem is that it's where the data is stored and how it's used. It's not necessarily the platform itself, it's that it's a national security risk because the data, which I don't know how China's using data of people doing stupid dances and crap, would be any relevant, but it's being stored on Chinese servers, I'd imagine, being analyzed by the Chinese Communist Party, and things of that sort, where just make a completely separate company, same technology, just segment it, keep it separate, keep it stored separately, all that stuff in the US or UK or EU or wherever.
Yeah, just Congress is good. I think it's a huge political move, right? National security is the
It
claim, so it's
is.
just not going to happen. But I mean, it's fine if it fully divests. I will say that it's probably the. I want to see what is next. The my bull case is the popularity of live shopping that has exploded across TikTok. You don't use TikTok, do you?
No.
It
I've
explodes.
downloaded it like 4 times and never used it.
Yeah, if you go there and you go to TikTok live and you scroll through, people are making a killing by snagging, um, what would you call what's an influencer links, where if someone
Hmm.
buys through the link that's on their live page, they get a portion of the profits from the sale of the item. So
Mm.
they'll buy something, then they'll go live with it and tell everyone, it's on sale right now. Use the link. And then they'll talk about the product and answer all the questions. And there are people who do this like all day are actually making a killing. It's like this new trend that's exploding. And I think it's just the resurgence of, um, you know, it's not the Martha. Who of what's it called on cable TV? The cable TV
Oh,
shopping
yeah, I know what you're
network.
talking about.
Yeah,
Shopping
yeah.
network,
It's
yeah.
just it's a research. It's a resurging, more authentic version of that. And I think it's going to be huge. And so if Meta adopts something like that, that could be a huge driver. But I think first, I want to see the shock to the stock on the realization TikTok's not going anywhere. It's still going to be in the US and everyone's going to use it.
Hmm.
I want to see Meta dip. And then I want to buy that dip potentially on to see if they can make their version of the live shopping work across Instagram, um, and or Meta. I actually think it might be better on actual Facebook. I said Meta, but I meant Facebook. But
Yeah,
and
Facebook, yeah.
I would like them to see actually make Threads good too. Threads is freaking trash. Threads is probably the most trash social media there. Blue Sky, which you probably even heard of Blue Sky, but it's better than Threads.
Oh,
But
I've heard of Blue Sky, but for other reasons.
shut up.
I've heard of it on Twitter
Yeah,
of
okay.
people trashing it.
Yeah. Blue Sky's actually nice. Okay, look, you know, Blue Sky is nice because it actually created an account, and I've been trying to remember to post on there. When you manage like six, I manage my company, and then I manage actually both my companies, so that I try to focus on my trading, to do all my research, and managing 7 freaking social media pages is a pain in the butt. So sometimes I forget about it, but I try not to forget about it, because if you could build an audience on there, it's one of the only social media platforms that won't suppress or throttle outside links. So like when you try to share your Substack on
Oh,
X, it throttles the link. Any post with a link outside the application gets throttled on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. It is a huge pain in the butt, because they're trying to keep people on their platform, and I'm only making content to. It's not the only reason, but a major portion of why I'm trying to build an audience is so I can help the other things outside of, like, build
yeah,
these
build the ecosystem.
other entities, build a community, and you guys aren't letting me do that. So why would I? If there's an alternative that will allow me to do that, that won't suppress those links, then I'm gonna go there. Of course, I wish, and it shocks me that Elon's doing that, because just thought he was better than that. It's so.
Yeah, it's a business at the end of the day.
He should just suppress certain ones, Blue Sky or Substack or whatever, but to suppress all of them, that is frustrating. It's not like I'm selling an alternative of X. People are still going to use it. Chill, dude. Like I doubt doing that. Maybe it has made a broad impact to keeping people on the website, but it's just too frustrating. It's like, because then you got to tell
No, I
people,
agree.
yeah, it's just annoying. So, um, I just think long term you gotta play to your creators, the people who are keeping other people on the site. But
Hmm.
I will say I kind of do want to transition to Apple. You said you haven't done any research on them, but we kind of mentioned already a few times the issues that Apple's having. We're talking about all the exciting things that these other companies are doing, the Big Seven, but we haven't really mentioned Apple. Yet when you look at the performance on the market, here Apple is kind of leading the way. I think one of the best performers, if we exclude Tesla, for the year, just slowly, consistently marching to all-time new highs. Just on the
Well,
this.
if we also exclude my favorite company,
Okay.
Palantir,
Oh yeah. Well, I'm talking about the
the
Big
top
Seven.
performer in the S&P.
We can't talk about Palantir, but let's touch Apple real quick.
We don't have to. Yeah, let's do
Um,
Apple
I
first.
think we should talk about Palantir though, to be honest. But
We can get them next.
yeah, I think Apple's a huge risk, risky investment, and I think the run up you're seeing is the boomers of the world per se, or even just some young people who are heavily invested into the phones and stuff and are addicted to the performance of the stock, which I think is
Mhm.
way too fueled by not only just irrational logic and a cult like love, but also its own buybacks. That's like I don't want your own buybacks to be a big driver for why I buy the stock. I want you to do real innovation. I hate buybacks. Um,
It's tough, man. They're an elephant, and elephants don't fly. They
right,
take one sip at a time.
but I mean, a buyback is such a
Yeah, it's
it's
a
so
way to deploy excess capital, but
it's
I
so
mean, what
it's so fluffing.
can they do?
Well, I mean, they could take risks. Well, if you're a big
Yeah,
company,
but
you should. When Google's news came out about the quantum computer, I was like, there we go. At least you guys are doing something with your monopoly status. Where is that
that's
moment?
Google's play.
What?
That's what Google does. They have like 20 companies under the Alphabet umbrella
Yeah,
that
but
take this risk.
right. So why
Apple's a
did
phone company.
right? But Apple should do something. Go for the. I don't. I okay. Let's say this. I'll say this.
Yeah.
I highly doubt Steve Jobs would be like, yeah, we need to do more buybacks. I think he would put that money to work into trying to change society in some way, shape, or form, leave his mark, grow his cult. Buy an island, have people live there, and charge them for the air on the island or something crazy. He would do something insane. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting. It's not going to happen. Is what I'm trying to get at. It's just not going to happen. This company, I feel like, is reached its growth cap. I think it's over. It's trading at a higher multiple than it has in a long time, but it's not a high growth company. They took a shot at doing something new. It failed. They gave up. Instead of participating in the AI story, they outsourced it to OpenAI. So now
Mhm.
there's someone's. Um,
B
it's
word.
yeah, So now they're on a
I think
leash.
the risk they took though was the Vision Pro. Because like a lot of what you see is the novelty, people using it on the train to play games or whatever. But the whole purpose behind it was, Industrial Revolution 2.0. You take it into a manufacturing shop, put them on, maybe it's your first day there. Now you have, buttons and levers and shit just lighting up and step-by-step processes. This is what you do first, this is what you do next, and so on and so forth. It can be used for training purposes like that. Maybe you just got an AR-15, you want to take it apart and put it back together. It can bust it out, how you take it apart step by step, show you a description of all the different components and how to put it back together, or how to grease it, lube it up, and get it functional. I think that was maybe not that last example, but I think that was kind of partially the intent of what Vision Pro is meant for just on this on-site training. You know, it's like having you buy a new box of Legos and you have the directions on your face, and instead of telling you, instead of showing the diagram of what it looks like, it just lights up the brick that you need to pick up and how to put it onto the other brick. I think that was kind of in part the intent of the headset, but Industrial Revolution, that's a slow moving process. And I think, and that's kind of my investment strategy right now on the Substack, where you have a new presidential administration coming in. It's very pro-business, pro-nearshoring, pro-America. That's putting tariffs on imports, primarily from China, potentially from Mexico and Canada. And the whole theory behind it is you're going to start buying American-made goods, American-made products. You know, it's going to be made in America. It's going to be sourced in America. Maybe the materials are going to come out of mines in America. Maybe not go that far just yet, because a lot of it's kind of stagnant and still due to regulation. But you know, it's a step in the right direction to becoming more self-sustainable and self-sufficient on that basis, to couple from China and other, you know, countries that may or may not be, I don't know, screwing us over on trade. So that's kind of the rationale behind it, behind my thesis for industrials. But that can very well be why Vision Pro hasn't been as big of a success, because there might have been a couple years too early for that big impact on manufacturing.
I think a big thing was just price tag too. You know, I mean, lots of people did return them
Yeah.
because they are pretty heavy, and something that heavy. I'm just imagining with my neck issues that I'm kind of like, you know, on the
Oh,
tail.
you'd be hosed.
Yeah, I mean that would not work
On
at
neck
all.
braces.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing about Apple. You have to buy the neck brace separately.
Yeah. That's funny.
Or
And it has a different, and it has a,
off.
yeah, it's somehow rechargeable too, but it has a different charger port. Yeah.
Different charger port. You have to buy the charger
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah. They call it the magic neck brace. But it only comes in 3 colors. And they got
White, black, and gunmetal.
it'd be it'd be something like midnight white
Midnight
night,
aura.
midnight white night, and then quadriplegic purple.
That's one for the army.
Yeah. But no, that's a good take. That's a good take. That's something I haven't considered. I didn't even consider that type of usage, because when I think of it, I just think my brain goes too fast to just cult nerds just using it and being like, look how cool. When I think Apple, I kind of think of status
To play
symbol.
Fallout.
Yeah, or just the one thing I thought was cool is that you could create multiple monitors, which is kind of a justification for the price. You know, all these monitors I use, these things are expensive. You know, and I gotta get gotta have the separate room for them. Gotta have a big enough desk. I gotta get the mount arms for them and everything, and then you gotta get the nice computer to run them properly and run all the programs. And here's this headset that all in one. You could create multiple monitors. You could put them wherever you want on the room, make them as big as you want. That was kind of cool, but you still have too many limitations where it's still better for me to have the actual monitors in the computer. Now, if that can be...
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you still don't have... You know, I'm a huge nerd, so I want to
Can't podcast with it.
Can't podcast with it unless you want to look like a doofus. Or unless maybe that's the future. Just all you see is eyeballs on podcasts. But
Everyone's a doofus.
You know what? If we start seeing... AR podcast, just the eyes, you only see the eyes, and it uses AI to make the rest of the face. The first thing I'm buying is a company that makes colored contact lenses. Those are gonna explode. But
why would you need lenses when AI can do it?
Yeah, true. Well, because it'll be a status symbol. Oh, these are my natural eyes. I don't know. You're probably right. But I would
these are naturals.
These are naturals, yeah.
Maybe military could have
big
naturals, but maybe the military can use Vision Pro too. And that can transition us to Palantir, where they're closing these big military government contracts, which I mean, that's where they originated, but they're doing a targeted missile system where they're developing the AI for essentially figuring out who the bad guy you want to hit is and rendering it. So instead of taking a couple hours, 200 people, it's taking 20 people and minutes to figure out who to target, how to target, and launch that fucker at them.
Yeah.
So maybe the Vision Pro is just the person. It connects the AI to the person outside of the missile system. You're wearing
Yeah.
it. You can see that guy light up that you need to shoot. I don't know. Is Apple pro military?
I don't think so. I think that would
Oh,
really.
never mind.
Yeah, I think that would really mess with Apple is anti-military, anti-meat eaters, but pro-child labor. But
That's where they draw the line.
yeah, that's where they draw the line. No, I
Maybe they'll make a military arm, Lockheed Apple, and they just build those Vision Pros.
I want to see Apple Lock. Apple
Call it
Lock.
like Vision X Pro.
Oh,
Apple Lock.
It should just be called Poisoned Apple, and they should go with like an evil Cinderella witch like logo, Poisoned Apple. Oh, that would look so cool on a missile.
Oh yeah. Have it like a red apple with like neon green juice dripping out of it.
Yeah. That'd be so
I can see that on a logo.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sick.
That would be pretty sick. All right.
You just see like your Marines coming out like fucking swamp monsters with just the eyes showing from the Vision Pro coming out of the water. Like they have the moss stuff all over them and a Vision Pro.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sick.
That actually would be pretty sick. All right. You might solve it. I still okay. The one thing though, I'm thinking in the back of my head is, if I expand out my horizon, though, it seems like that is kind of like that is just a stepping stone to what eventually will be Optimus robots doing all of that stuff.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
hopefully if Amazon sources from Optimus, they'll call it Optimus Prime, but
Oh
I'm
my
not going to get my
gosh.
hopes up yet.
That would be so amazing. Why did I not even think of that?
I jokingly put that in one of my reports on Seeking Alpha
Yeah.
when I was covering it. It's like, if they do this, they should call it Optimus Prime. That's just my 2 cents.
They got it, right?
Maybe, yeah, they can give it a red and blue tint on it too. Who knows?
Yeah. It's got to be. That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That would be so.
But yeah, Optimus, and that's actually, that's kind of been top of mind lately with the Amazon protests, the worker stoppage at the warehouses.
Right. Yep. I mean, that's a huge driver for my Tesla purchase, and why it's just the economics of it are just too damn good. And lots of people, I do also want to add, I do also want to add, lots of people argue with me at the beginning of the year when I said Uber's trash. Why would you buy Uber? It's a trash company. And lots of people are upset. Oh, Uber's great. When Tesla does self-driving, they're going to use Uber software. I did on my recap of Uber at the end of this year. I predicted it'd be cut in price by 50%. But you know what? It didn't move at all and slightly down by the end of the year. And I'll still take that as a win. Because of how bullish some people were. And I think they're full of it. I think those companies, Elon's not the type of guy to be like, yeah, or use your software. That's just not what he's ever done. If he wants to do something.
No, he's made it clear he's keeping his ecosystem.
Right, exactly.
That was like the purpose of Robotaxi Day.
And now, especially now that he has X and he wants X to be the everything app, he's gonna build it into X. He's not gonna freaking use Uber. They're idiots. Uber's done for. People are gonna be driving for Elon now. And if he even allows that, he's probably just going to try to get the robo-taxis to completely disrupt the entire space. So, I mean...
He's not going to let someone drive.
Right.
It's XAI is going to drive.
Right. It's just, but he should, if he's smart, he'll have like a small segment because some people are going to be scared of the robo taxis, and so maybe he should allow some
Yeah.
human drivers. But
I mean,
he might just try to
wasn't the,
force the future.
yeah, because like thinking about it, the robo taxi, the purpose of the vehicle itself is to keep costs like at, what was it, like 25 grand or so per vehicle. Like that was kind of the purpose of
Right.
the release of the robotaxi. You have a two-seater, small, compact, keep that 25 grand or so, and you can just deploy those things everywhere. And then, like, I don't know if it still stands, but the quarter before robotaxi day, the whole thought was to kind of pre-roll it out where your Tesla vehicle, once it has full self-driving capabilities, to be able to turn it on and let it be a robo taxi when you're not
Right.
using it during the day or night.
Right.
So that was kind of like the stepping stone. I mean, it would make sense to have someone driving, and I don't think the current fleet of Teslas on the roads are capable of that, as far as I'm aware. But I mean, I don't know. I
Well,
don't have a Tesla. The only Tesla hardware I have is a Starlink. But
right. Well,
if he
they
makes a phone, I'll buy the phone too. But
well
that's a
that,
different story.
his strategy from what it seems to be and from the way that he's like trying to push for it, he's pushing for approval in certain cities. So I imagine what they're doing is
Yeah.
they're focusing their AI training on certain particular cities to get
Well, that's the
those.
thing, though.
Yeah.
He
What?
doesn't want it to be tied to a map. That was his whole point with like the AI portion and the cameras portion. He doesn't want it to be tied to a map like Waymo is, where you have your routes set up. It wants to be more dynamic to where it can intertwine through traffic seamlessly.
You're right. You're
So the
right.
original iterations on robotaxis was like Google's, where it couldn't drive with human drivers on the road because like so the problem with those were like if you're at a four-way stop and it was the robotaxi's turn to go, but the other vehicles were inching forward, the robotaxi would not go because it'd be a risk from all the other vehicles
Right.
inching forward. So that was kind of the hiccup. It wasn't designed to work with human drivers. So I think that's kind of like where Elon Musk has taken this to a whole nother level where he's implementing AI, human error, things of that sort into it. So it can drive on the freeways or the roads or whatever and see a traffic hazard and not just drive into it, or not just drive into a lake like Apple Maps might have suggested a couple years ago, or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Right. 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 No, you're right. Okay. That's true. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe he's just
But
trying to play the
yeah,
favoritism with the politics, which we're getting pretty long on time,
honestly,
so we probably should transition to the political environment and the impact you think it's going to
we
have on
need
them.
to do that.
Yeah.
And to transition into that will be my last comment on Tesla, where Elon Musk's partnership with Donald Trump, that could get him that national privilege of self-driving vehicles on a national basis.
Yeah, good. He's got 4 years to make it happen. 4 years is actually a really long time now that I think about it in tech.
For tech, it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
When you have
really
1 year
long time.
horizons,
Yeah, it's a really long time in tech. So I totally think it's going to happen. I also think the stock is going to dip. I really hope the stock is going to dip because I would really like to buy back some Tesla at a cheaper price. I think it's too
nudge
head
me on
over
that day
heels.
so I can buy some too.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, but definitely. Of course, that's my most tracked stock. Um, but when I look at this political environment, I first thing that comes to my mind, the thing that I've kind of obsessed over, that it seems starkly different, is the composition of Trump's team. I think is a lot different than had in his previous administration, and the composition of the government is obviously a lot different as well. Um, Red Wave was real, and then we also have the brand new body of Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. And so I recently did a little recap of that, of well, I did a whole video, but I'll do a recap of my opinion, and then I want to throw it at you, and I want to see how you react to it. But my thought is that when I hear the word efficiency, I think job cuts and I think innovation, which usually leads to job cuts. So and I think of cutting on spending as well. So through reforms, blah blah blah, gets better, but less spending. When I think of these four things, and I would think of the impact that the government has on GDP, I actually think that this is a huge economic drag. It'll be great in the long
Mhm.
term, but in my opinion, it's actually what could, within the first year, just the headlines could drag the market down on the anticipation that, like, if these things get changed or if these things occur, like, the market could come back dramatically. I'm also interested to hear if there's any reform within the FDA. Would be my other thing that haven't talked about yet, because I'm still kind of digging into who's running that. But if we could see, there's been a big push for deregulation and reform, and then you also have Robert Kennedy saying that we've got to fix the food. I'm
Mhm.
surprised how much he's getting memed on, and how much he's getting ridiculed by the broad population is actually really puzzling to me. I guess just because he made a comment about anti-vax, so half the population thinks he's just an idiot. But
Mhm.
it's so ludicrous to me, because it's like our food is banned in other countries.
Oh yeah,
How that doesn't
pesticides,
how
additives, all
how
sorts
that
of stuff.
how that doesn't scare the shit out of people who wore masks for 4 years is blowing my mind. Like, you don't want to breathe the air, but you'll eat the shit. That's kind of bewildering. Um,
I'll tell you, man. Like, not to interject, but I'll tell you, after my contest, my bodybuilding show, I think that was April or so when I did it. For like the first couple months, I was kind of off the hinge with my diet, where I was eating like breakfast cereals and all sorts of processed stuff. And once I transitioned off of that and back onto my normal diet, I felt, I realized how shitty normal people feel when they eat that stuff every
oh
single
yeah,
day for every single meal. Like, I felt like garbage, man. Like, my face felt puffy. I just felt lethargic all the time and
yeah.
just like crap. And you don't think about it doing what we do, where, our diet's primarily chicken and rice and some veggies thrown into the mix, you
Well,
feel fine all the time almost, but other than our bodies being destroyed at the gym. But
I've been a
I
little bit of
get
the
it.
dad life.
A
I've been a little
couple
unhealthy.
pastries here and there never
Yeah.
kills anyone. Donut or
Yeah.
two.
I've been having a little fun.
Old Debbie.
I've been in a little physical therapy. We don't need to talk about it. I will.
Nah.
I've definitely put on a little dad weight, but I also, have you seen our new shirts, by the way? I don't know if you could read this. Is it backwards?
Day trade. No, it's forwards. Day trading because OnlyFans didn't work out. Oh, that's hilarious.
I wore this for the first time in public, and I got multiple compliments at the grocery store. That's a win.
I need to score one. I
Yeah,
need to score one of those bad boys.
absolutely. I'll
Did
send
you
I'll
make
send you
a?
one.
I don't. I think I'm still 2XL, but a lot of my long sleeves for 2XL are starting to get kind of snug. I might be at 3XL in flannels now.
Oh gosh, he's
Dude,
blowing
I'm at
up.
250 right now.
Are you really? That's crazy.
Yeah, I've gained some weight this last year. Good
Wow.
weight. Well, mostly good weight.
Yeah, that's wild. That's awesome, dude.
Oh
Holy
yeah, but
crap.
it
Wow.
only gets bigger from here. But yeah,
Yeah.
so back to the NHH or whatever,
Right. Of course.
um, FDA, RFK.
Mm-hmm.
Finish up your thought there,
Yeah.
or do you
Well,
want me to have some
no. I
thoughts?
mean, I'm pretty much, in summary, I just I I'm curious to see how that all plays out. It could have some ripple effects to the food industry. I kind of wonder how much that pain's already priced in, just because of the damage that Ozempic did, and the weight
Hmm.
loss industry, anyways, which is more of the, of course, it's not really the weight loss industry; it's more of the impulse industry. Um, an interesting line of thought there that I don't know if it's reached our radar. Is a lot of people are saying that this is simply the biological industry catching up with the innovations from what they refer to instead of tech. It's the dopamine industry. All this dopamine from all of this technology, from the social medias, from how the food has changed, everything's sweeter, everyone's looking for the dopamine fix, and now we have medication that helps combat the real problems of the modern man, by kind of curving that appetite, not just for food, but of, I almost said sinful pleasures, whatever. But I think that has already done some damage to the food industry. What I'm also curious in, because of my biotech holdings, is that if we do see some deregulation, was that even a word? Deregulation.
Deregulation.
Yeah, if we do see some deregulation.
I don't want to correct you the first time. I'm gonna let you have that one. But...
Deregulate. Did I say it twice? Did I say it twice?
Mongoloid.
Okay.
You said it twice.
Yeah. I remember how we started off with the lack of sleep. No. So
yeah, I don't blame you at all.
Yeah. So, but the
deregulation.
The deregulation is going to play. I almost said it again. Almost three times. It's going to play a huge role in unlocking growth when it comes to those companies, especially when we look at like the psychedelic world, which I think there'll be some favoritism for. If we can even get away from the board being able to invest in companies before they give approval, I think that will also unlock a lot of favoritism and corruption as well, because that is a freaking disaster that needed to be fixed ages ago. It's an absolute catastrophe, because things that get approved shouldn't get approved. Things that aren't approved should have gotten approved. So it is desperately been in need of reform for ages. So I'm really optimistic there, probably to an irrational level, because this isn't a governing body that has any power, but the headlines might have a big impact. And so I think there's a bunch of trade opportunities to hunt for those headlines should they get national attention, which I think they all will. I don't know what they'll look like, but they'll get market impacts. So what's your thought on all of that, though?
Absolutely. I'll start in food, since that was the food, healthcare, things like that, since that was kind of the recent topic, and work our way back to, tariffs and things of that sort. But
yeah,
like on the healthcare side, so I was having this conversation with my dad. I don't know a whole lot about the cancer research industry, and the big headline from the big spending bill was, Elon's against child cancer research, which I thought that was a little bit of a bastardization of a headline, but that was the big headline going on X when he sought to kill the bill, which, again, he has no political power. It's not him making decisions. He's just voicing his opinion as a third party. But like my whole thought on it, I had this conversation with my dad.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but people get mad at Elon because what's he really going to do? I don't know if you've seen some of this unhinged crap. What do you mean? What do you think Elon's going to do? The guy posts everything he's thinking online.
He's transparent, which is a lot better than what other people are doing.
The people who hate him should be so happy because you know everything he's going to do. You know every single thing he's thinking. It's all online. Same thing with Trump. You hate Trump? Well, he's going to tell you what he's going to do. He's going to post about it 7 times a day. That's actually a great thing, because then you actually know what's going on. I like that. If you don't like these people, you should be really happy about that, because keep your enemies close.
At least you know, right? You don't like them.
Right. Well, now you know what they're up to. If you don't trust them, they're not a mystery. It's pretty freaking obvious. It's so ludicrous, all the conspiracies that I see. I'm like, what do you mean? This dude is glued to his phone. Like, I'm pretty sure he can't open his toilet seat without logging into X. I think it's actually
who can't.
Yeah.
Anyways, I agree with you there. It's like, you consider how sleazy politicians are, and would you rather a guy call you an idiot to your face or call you an idiot behind your back? Because
Right.
that's what everyone else is doing in Washington,
Right.
just in their own fashion. Where Trump, he's just putting it on X, putting it on Twitter, putting it on Truth or whatever. I'd prefer the guy that's transparent. Love him, hate him. At least he's transparent. You know what he's up to.
Right.
But beyond the on the cancer research side, I was talking to my dad about that, and for the longest time, you see all these fundraisers and charities and all this stuff for raising money for cancer research, and I've seen it for my lifetime. He's seen it for his lifetime, and it's like you look at it, and chemotherapy is still the go-to treatment for cancer, and which is literally injecting poison into your body to help you outlast the cancer. And you have all these funds going to research, and it's like, what impact have these had on the actual research? And talk to a cancer doctor at, I don't know, MD Anderson or something, the top research center. It's like, well, cancer is very individualized. It affects people differently. It's homegrown cells that kill you. And it's like, well, why hasn't there been more research in doing that? Like figuring out how to target your own personal cells. Why isn't AI helping sequence your genome with all these supercomputers and all this stuff, and figuring out how to target a individualized medicine to eradicate it?
Well,
You have all these tools, and again, this is totally out of my field. I'm not a biotech guy like you,
yeah.
let alone a cancer guy like them, but just thinking logically, you have all this available tools, and you've had, I don't know, let's call it 70 years of research funding to essentially come down to the common denominator of chemotherapy. It doesn't make sense to me. There's something going on. I don't know what it is. I'm not
It's
going to put my tin hat on right now,
yeah.
but
I mean, I understand because this is what I see on Facebook is kind of similar sentiment. It's just not. It's a very complex problem because every cancer has a different catalyst, and it's like a good metaphor. Okay, here's a problem you got to solve. All right, there's a malfunction that happens, but it happens upon an infinite strand of DNA that is ever changing. Identify where the error occurs. Well, it's like, well, shit.
yeah, it's impossible.
It's like, and by the way, there's like at least like several thousand variations. So make one problem to fix all of that. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
what? There are lots of. There was, I believe, a major prize and award given to one of the, um, I can't remember the name of the company. Shame on me, but there was a sequencing AI that was given a reward because they have been sequencing a lot of genomes or the entire genomic database that exists. We see leaders and kind of in that space, being like Twist Biosciences has been working with it, several AI companies. And there's kind of partnerships all over the space. There's been a lot more of teamwork, kind of democratizing the process across the industry as everyone tries to work together to kind of get all the data collection, which is good because usually what hinders a lot of innovation is two teams will be working on a similar problem, made a discoveries necessary for both their ideas to work, but they don't know the other one exists or is still working on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the putting the heads together is even more relevant than tech, because the vision's more unified than with technology. Microsoft working with Apple might not help because they have different visions, right? But when you're working in biology, there's like only it's one it's the same thing you're working towards, right? You're trying to figure out how the body works. So, but it's just a lot harder of a problem than you think it is. So, we know more about the universe than we know about our brain.
Ain't that the truth?
Like where
So it sounds like what I'm bitching about is happening right now.
yeah, it
It's
is.
happening right now.
But it's so hard. People underestimate how people look at all the things that we've made and they don't understand that we're actually more incredible than a lot of the things we've created. just as
Mhm.
life itself is just still a complete utter mystery. If you want to get philosophical with it, at the end of the day, quantum physics is amazing and cool, but hey, you don't even know how the brain works that identified the existence of that, or even fully comprehend how your body metabolizes food. Like, we got a lot of it figured out, but it's not a perfect science. There's not
Oh
natural
yeah.
laws of that. So, like, there's still things to uncover. So we've almost got more of the technological stuff figured out than we do of our own body. It's people look at all the things that we've created rather than and think that means we should be further along on that. But it's just the simple thing is that it's very hard. It's very we are very complex creatures, and people don't get that enough respect. That's just the way I see it. As someone who's
Oh, 100%.
studied the field, yeah. So
I
that's
don't
my
think about that much, and I don't
yeah.
know too much about it, but those are
Yeah.
my 2 cents. It sounds like it's happening. It's just
It's slow.
happening now, slow.
Yeah, well,
So that's
part
cool.
of the reason it's slow though is because of the corruption within the industry. Though, by the way,
Well,
a
that's what I was
bunch
kind of
of
inferring.
bullshit. And well, yeah, you are right, but the corruption, it's this. I don't want to get too ranty and kind of derail your whole thing. The one thing I think is essential to add though to the conversation is that the corruption makes it harder to profit off the industry. There's a lack of profits and money to be made from making us more efficient at solving a lot of these medical issues means there's a lack of money, which means there's a lack of drive, which means there's a lack of incentive, which leads to all these ripple effects. And on top of the fact that these things are very difficult, so you only get the off. You gotta play the population game of we need a huge population so that we can produce these few random PhD nerds that are like Elon-esque but love the body, and then go all in on that problem regardless of how much money's in it. Because that's the whole reason I'm not working in that industry. I was like, I can make way more money doing other things, and I'm not spending another 8 years in school to make less. So,
Nope.
anyways, rant over. Continue. I want to hear. By the way, I don't know if you're gonna touch on it, but I really want to hear your thoughts on Doge and whether you think my thesis on it being a economic drag is correct.
Oh, absolutely. So we're getting to the next problem with RFK's deal, and then we'll do Doge.
Okay, got
So
it.
RFK, and you're talking about all these additives that are banned in Europe, and I don't know if you saw the headline, but wasn't there? What was it? It was something about like food dyes. It's starting to make its rounds in Congress for
Right,
being banned or something like that. Was
right.
that recent? But
You had the red
I thought
dye.
that was kind of funny where you see the same side talking about how he's not qualified, now accepting that, hey, this is actually bad, but other people are going to jump the gun on him and make it happen before he gets in his position. I
Right.
thought that was kind of funny. So, I mean, he's not by any stretch a health official. He's in better shape than the current health officials, but
Which I actually think is
he at least
relevant.
knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take advice from a bodybuilder over a current health officials any day because they at least know how the body works
Right.
and how it metabolizes and how to time carbs and all that stuff. But like I think he can have an impact on that from a high level. And if he's anything like Trump, he doesn't need to know everything about it. He just needs to know how to triage people that are the experts and be able to work with them and get stuff through. I mean,
Right.
that's the purpose of a leader. A CEO is not gonna a CEO of an energy company. They may not know all the geography behind the well. They just know how to manage the people to do that and work with them. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I think he'd be great in that position. He has a lot of name recognition and background that can be impactful. Um, he at least has some baseline knowledge of what needs to happen, and he probably knows some of the people he needs to talk to make it happen. So I think that can be pretty impactful. On Doge, like you said, it can be kind of deteriorating to GDP in a sense that government spend is a pretty large portion of GDP. So if government spending were to go into decline in the near term, It can definitely be impactful to the near-term GDP growth rate, which I don't see as a problem. Tariffs and nearshoring will also have the same effect, a similar effect, where cost of goods will go up. You might have lower margins, higher selling prices, yada yada yada. Going into that, lower output in the near term, but in the long term horizon, you might have better jobs. You're going to have more blue collar labor force to be working those manufacturing jobs, so that might get people out of food service. Making minimum wage is something that's kind of a good middle ground to make them 100 grand plus on an annual basis. So it's going to have its pushes and pulls. Stuff might be a little bit more expensive, but you're going to have a stronger middle class as a result of it. That's my thesis behind it. And same goes for Doge. There's got to be a ton of government bureaucracy just flowing through the veins of the federal government. And it circles back to Palantir, where, they do essentially an ERP system on steroids, where it does a lot of predictive modeling. You can build AI agents with it to do all these automated tasks. So you have to wonder just how much of the government labor force that can potentially be cut, how much of that can just be automated through a platform like Palantir or XAI or Llama or whatever these AI models are doing. How much of that can be automated?
Probably a
And
large portion.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't think
Especially the
necessarily you're
DMV.
going to see. Oh yeah, 100% the DMV. I mean, what do they do? Like, take your picture, issue a new ID, you show your credentials, and that's it. You can do that online.
Right.
Like, maybe it's not as secure. You can do it securely. I mean, if you can open a fucking bank account online, you should be able to get your credentials online.
Right.
But,
You could do your taxes
but
online. Yeah.
yeah, if you can do your taxes online, you should be able to do DMV stuff online. And that can be automated. I'm sure of it. That can easily be automated by Google or, again, Palantir. I mean, Palantir would probably be the company to do it. They're a national security company. They can absolutely deal with that kind of data. So perhaps that's the next logical step for them. So that's kind of my thesis behind it, where I think it's kind of bogus to think that Social Security payouts will be cut. I mean, Social Security is going to last 2034 or something. I think that's the common denominator. But I mean, how much administrative goes into it? Why can't that be automated? I think that's where the cost cuts are going to go, and not necessarily the payouts, but the cost cuts of that administrative work that goes into putting it together. Department of Education, I don't know what the hell that does. I mean, aren't our schools paid for by local taxes? So I'm sure there's a lot of that
And
can be
it,
cut.
it inflates the prices of universities and becomes a huge drag on the on society, both in the useless degrees that kids are graduating. I mean, just it's a toxin. It's a toxin to the U.S. I hate the
Oh,
education system.
absolutely.
I hate it with a
Yeah,
burning
so
passion. Yeah.
that should be cut.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But
maybe
they always fail because people are like, "Oh, you want everyone stupid?" It's like, no, it's not how it works, dummy. You could do better with. Education has risen in price every single year. Do you think the quality of the education has actually risen year over year? No, it hasn't. It
I've seen it
hasn't.
gone down
Yeah, it's actually gone down. So, but you keep
to be
raising the
more
money.
inclusive.
Yeah, if the money we pour into it increases, then just simple logic, the education should increase, the scores should increase, things should be improving, but they're fucking not. It is the yeah. Anyway, sorry, it's just a trigger point
Oh
for
no,
me.
absolutely.
It's a huge trigger point
There's
for me
DEI
because it's
programs, man. It's like
yeah, it's
it's
ludicrous.
hilarious.
Yeah, but the simple brains, the simple-minded lizard brains, that they get driven to the voting booth, which just sounds like I'm making fun of boomers. I'm not. I'm just calling everyone stupid. They just heard the tagline of like they don't want to help our kids get smarter. It's like, no, that's what we're talking about. They want to stop people from going to college. Why do you need to go to college? Why can't we
Go to
make
vocational school
yeah, why can't I have a vocational school? Well,
become a plumber, electrician.
There's people, there's entrepreneurs building online schools that cost $50 a month, but give you degree equivalents within the,
Hmm.
within the English related, not the most technical schools, but if you want those degrees that are going to get you paid, you should spend a reasonable amount on them, especially since if I wanted to take philosophy, I could probably watch YouTube videos until I learned what, equivalent to a master's degree, and then I could
Yeah.
also be
Go
useless.
to half price books and buy some books on Plato and
Yeah.
Socrates and shit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to get a degree in that.
Yeah.
All they're going to do is have you read it, teach you their point of view, let you voice your point of view, and give you a grade. That's what university does. I mean, like, if the point of going to college isn't to get you a job or give you the qualifications and skills to get a job, what is the point of going to college?
Yeah.
Same with high school.
Well,
Like, a lot of, I don't know the percentage of people that don't go to college, but I'd imagine there's a pretty good proportion of blue collar employees that didn't go to college, at least in the
I
last few generations, but
I think college
it's not for everyone.
I think college serves as its role for me personally. If someone doesn't use its degree, I did end up using it because it helps me when I'm doing research, in highly specialized areas. But besides that, it helped me benchmark of like, how smart am I really? Where do I fit to the hierarchy of society? What am I actually capable of doing? What would be reaching too far? I'm no Elon, but I figured out that I'm fairly intelligent. Just
Yeah, you have a high capacity.
I have a decent capacity. It did serve a role in that, right? Because you are every year increasing the difficulty of what you're doing, and then you're also put in these large auditoriums with other people, and you're seeing where you kind of size up. They've said show where everyone's grades are. It's like I finally hit the master's level courses for like advanced biochemistry, and it's like, okay, I'm no longer near like the top. I'm now falling into like middle of the pack. All right, cool. That's a pretty hard course, but you kind
Hey, I
of
don't blame you.
you kind of figure out where you start to fall off at. It's important. There's other people who, granted, I was the worst, laziest college student of all time, so I also didn't start studying until my like last semester, but
Hey, you and me both, man. You're in
yeah.
good company there.
But I think it
But I'll say,
does.
like,
I think it does serve a role to broadly help you understand your capabilities and give you a chance to navigate your interests. It should just not be that expensive to do that. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Like,
And serve a greater purpose.
right, right. It should just not be so. Yeah. I didn't even get a real college experience. I don't know if you did, but I commuted to college, and then I'm still
I
paying
did
these.
too. I stayed at the parents, commuted,
Right.
all
Yep.
that stuff.
Yep. And then while most of my peers don't even have homes, I have a house because I just saved money and worked and then commuted to school. And they're like, how am I supposed to afford a house? Well, it's like, well, there's probably a few things that I could say, but I'll just hold my tongue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of
Yeah.
those things where, what is it, like the A students work for the C students and the B students work for government?
Yeah.
I don't know how much salt's in that, but I certainly wasn't an A or B
I,
student.
I,
So,
I haven't heard the last part of that. That's hilarious.
uh,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
but there's
Anyways,
a lot of
continue.
truth to it too, where, I mean, I want to finish my thought on this before I go back to Doge, but like, I so like I have a I'd say I have a pretty good EQ, a solid EQ ability to understand people and their emotional state, things of that sort, how to communicate with people, understand how they work, how they function, and how they think. And like I was talking to someone, I think I was talking to Joe about that, where you have your entrepreneurs like us, the people that go out and get business and build our own brand, build our own business, and do things like that, where we may have taken the rougher track to get to where we're at, but where we're at and we're successful at it. Whereas, the A student, the star student of college, they're running that middle of the ground, doing great, I'm sure, but they're not the type of person that would go out and figure things out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to do what they're told and get really good at doing what they're told.
Right.
And that's kind of their place in this world where we're designed to be the architect. They're designed to be the cog. That's what I'm
Right.
trying to get at.
Right. And I don't
So I
mean
think,
it. Yeah, I don't mean
uh,
it, but it's not even like it's not like even a negative thing. It's like you need people like that.
no,
It's do you
yeah,
want to? You got to understand. Are you the Steve Jobs or are you the Tim Cook? There's
and there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah, there's Tim Cook still makes a killing. There's not a lot of
Hmm.
people who are operators. There's not a, but there's even less people who are innovators who can do something new, go off the beaten path, eat the shit sandwich necessary to go off the beaten path because it is the shit sandwich to do
Oh,
something on your own.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a
Not only get kicked to the ground, get your teeth kicked in, but they
yeah.
punch you in the balls while they're at it.
And then while all of that's happening, everyone's like, "Why are you doing this?
It's like, well,
What is
then you get
this?"
up and they're like,
Yeah,
man, I wish I did that.
yeah, exactly. Yep, 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 yep.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's how I think of it, It's maybe it's a feels good story to give myself some belief in what I'm doing, but that's the way I think about it.
right.
Um, but yeah, looking at Doge, so I think it's going to be a little bit destructive to the economy in the near term, but long term, it kind of goes back to how Austrian economics is set up, where you have to take some off the top to build back the bottom, for the consumer products to be nearshored, you're going to have to make them more expensive in the near term to bring back materials production, the manufacturing process domestically. And in the long run, again, you're going to build better jobs. You're going to have higher paying. You're going to have a stronger middle class. You're going to have more, of those high double digit, low triple digit jobs that are necessary for the American economy to run, for people to thrive. It's not going to be, banker salaries, but they're solid jobs. They're good for people that like to be that cog that gets really good at doing that one time of life and run with it. So that's the way I see it. It's gonna be painful next couple of years in terms of prices of things, but at the end of the day, how many iPhones do you buy in a year? How many sign a year? How many HVAC systems do you buy in a year? How many cars do you buy in a year? So will tariffs really impact day-to-day spending? Probably not as drastically as it's being made out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like what I don't really get is I've seen a couple articles in the Wall Street Journal about the farming epidemic, whatever you want to call it. You know, margins are to go down next year. I'm thinking it's like, well, potash prices drop their highs or back up a little bit higher, but they're still pretty low on a relative basis when compared to the last couple of years. Steel prices for farming equipment, bear market. Um, so why is farming equipment so expensive to manufacture? Is it all these automated systems that like Trimble and John Deere are putting on this on the tractors that are making it more expensive, or why are they more expensive? Steel prices are pretty low. I saw seeds are kind of more pricey, but why are seeds so pricey? Who's controlling seeds? Who is it now? Monsanto was bought by Bayer. Are they doing something that's making seeds more pricey? I don't know, but
Hmm.
it's like you have all these other inputs that are on a relative basis a lot cheaper than they had been in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't make much sense to me. But you're still seeing incredible food inflation for both eating at home and eating out. Stuff's just in general more expensive. So are tariffs going to impact those? I don't know. How much of our food's actually imported versus produced domestically? Sure, avocados are imported from Mexico, but I mean, other than avocados, let's look at beans, rice, chicken, beef, pork. How much is that's imported versus farmed domestically or ranched domestically?
Right.
So it's something to think about.
It's a lot. It's a lot to dig through too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not my specialty. I'm just high level thinking
Right.
through the problem. It's like
Right.
what is the underlying cause of food inflation? Because I'm seeing all these other input prices be at rock bottom. It's like
Well, I
to
mean,
kind of veer a little bit. All the automotive OEMs are having problems making electric vehicles profitable, and you're seeing people talk about, well, in a couple years it's going to be profitable. And it's like, well, lithium is at an all-time low.
Right.
Rare earth elements that makes the magnets for the motors, those are at an all-time low. Those
Right.
are some of the higher cost inputs
Right.
as far as materials go. Like, what's going to get cheaper to make these vehicles cheaper? Like, are we going to get those solid state batteries that QuantumScape is making, or whatever? Yeah, QuantumScape. Like, are they going to be successful? I don't know, but is it really going to lower the price?
Right.
It That kind of stuff just doesn't make sense to me. There's something that I'm not looking at.
It's something
There's
I've never
like
dug into or thought
some
about.
cost.
Right. I will say when it comes to the food, Biden already told you to just these grocery stores with these, 0.1% margins that are raising.
Yeah, it's
Freaking incompetent dumbass.
yeah, Costco's the heroes.
And he, you know what? I shouldn't even say he's incompetent because he knows better. They all know better. They're just spewing BS to the masses. I
Yeah,
will
they're
say
just spewing some crap.
there have been some margins increasing though from some of the food companies, so they could just be trying to take advantage of the fact that the expectation is higher prices, and then those higher prices become sticky prices. So it might be the simple thing, but
Oh yeah,
it's definitely I don't have enough information or insight to say that that's true. So yeah, that's
but
a
at the
lot of
same
things I
time,
haven't thought about yet.
you're seeing all these restaurants having issues filling seats.
Yes.
Like, I don't usually go out to eat. I eat at home 99.9% of the time. But like when I was in Houston visiting the family, we went out to eat probably 2, 3 times a week. And when I was in Buffalo earlier in the year, for some stuff, same thing. Went out to eat a couple times a week. And, we went to these big open floor plan restaurants and breweries and all sorts of things. And I was asking my dad, like in Buffalo, we went to this really cool brew house, big open space, and there were maybe 10 groups there for a room that could easily fill 100 people.
Wow.
It was just so empty. And it's
Yeah.
like, did they just overbill? It was like, oh, like I was here a year ago, it was filled. It was packed. And this was like a Saturday afternoon. It was nice out, perfect weather.
Wow.
We just finished golfing and went there for a burger and a beer. The burger cost like $22
It's
for a
crazy.
burger I could have made like 100 times better. Beer was
Wow.
okay. Burger blew ass. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's why nobody's coming. You're in a city where you can buy wings for 30 cents on a wing night, and you're charging $20 for a crappy burger. Like, that's why you guys aren't filling the space. You're
Right.
trying to charge Chicago prices and Buffalo, New York, of all places.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the industry, man. They're self-inflicting harm.
They they really well a lot of yeah. I will say there's a lot of company. I mean, Kava's been freaking killing it. I mean
Uh,
I mean they've been it's
oh yeah.
ludicrous. So it's CMG type levels of growth, which is Chipotle, by the way, for those unaware. But yeah, anyways, um, so I really like your kind of more balanced take there, more granular take there. But it looks like we're coming to a similar conclusion where there likely to be some short-term pain. I'm expecting the pain to be priced in on the headlines pretty early on in the administration, though, and then you'll see the actual ripple effects. Maybe there'll be tailwinds from that, from the actual enactment if things truly play themselves out. But I'm expecting the headlines to be kind of a heavy impact to the market that I think is not really thinking about it's just excited about what comes after and not what happens before. So I think that
Exactly.
realization, which is easy to do, which is usually what I tend to do. Someone who's like I'm a very optimistic person. I think you kind of have to be to do what we do independently. But that's kind of yeah. I think that was
Be optimistic or
yeah
self-realizing.
yeah. So maybe. Well, I always tell people who want to do what I do that they're delusional and their goal is to bring those delusions to realities. That's what it was. It's all a delusion until it works.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're delusional, but maybe you can make those delusions real. That's how it
Figure
goes.
it out.
Yeah, but I think this is a great chance to talk. I haven't talked to you in a long time, man, and we just did
It's been a hot minute.
we just did a solid 2.5 hours. So I think we got to call it on this. Is there
We had a lot
any?
of catching up to get there, so
Yeah, we did, and I think we did a lot for some great commentary on what not even just the year, but the next 4 years will probably look like. So let me ask though: is there anything else that you read really burning in your head that you wanted to mention?
not a whole lot. Circling back to what I've been doing on the Substack, a lot of it goes into what my expectations are for when, if, and when tariffs are implemented. This is primarily on the industrial side, specialty metal manufacturing, things like that. That's been my focus for the past couple of months on Substack. So my theory is, we're going to see Industrial Revolution 2.0 be pulled in the next couple years. It's one of those plays that's been talked about for the last 4 or 5 years post COVID with factory automation and all this nearshoring and things like that. I think the tariffs are going to pull that in and make it actually happen. So that's kind of where I'm at on that strategy. So you can walk through Substack. If anybody wants to check it out, I can give you like a week for free or whatever, or you can just support me and buy a subscription. It's not a whole lot. Totally worth the investment. If you don't make your money back, sorry, but I am on those very investments. So definitely take a walk through on the Substack on the recent couple months of information. A lot of it's on the industrial side, specialty metals, things of that sort. That's been what's rolling around in my mind for the last couple months. If tariffs are put in, what's gonna win?
Yep.
And then I know the whole point of this call was to talk about market predictions as well.
Oh,
So at a high level, I wrote my paper, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday last week. I was looking for a 21.5% growth for the S&P at that level, wherever that was. I can't tell you what the figure is. I don't have that number in front of me, but off the low last week, I was looking at about 21.5% growth.
21.5% growth for the S&P. Okay, that's quite a bit.
Correct.
That's quite a
And
bit.
that's driven on incredible investments on the hyperscalers, durability on industrials, energy kind of remaining flat with natural gas giving it some boost. I can't comment on healthcare, but from what it sounds like, you know, um,
Good growth.
medical technology is being destocked on inventory, so that should be back to growth in the next year or so. What else do we got? Consumer discretionary. That might take a big kick in the teeth with lower investments or lower spend at the consumer level, which I talk a lot about that on the Substack. I know we don't have time to discuss that on here, but you can read that on the Substack. I get into pretty good detail, especially on today's article. I talk about that a bit. Consumer staples, that's historically been pretty durable, but it could take a little bit of a hit with the new health administration. Um, what else are we? Utilities, that's a 2030, 2035 play. So it should be sustainable, slow growth, but with the headlines, it could see some waves in the near term. And what else? I think that touches up on all the
Say that.
sectors, right?
Say that last thing you just said one more time because you're a little too robotic for me to understand. What by 2035 slow sustainable growth from whom?
Oh, utilities.
Okay, got it.
Utilities.
Okay.
That's a 2030, 2035 story, but with headlines, I'm expecting it to see some volatility and some
Gotcha.
a flood of cash because that's like the lowest weight in the S&P. You know, it has the highest growth potential on that basis. But, you know, if it makes more headlines, if it gains more investor interest, you can see some more money flooding into those stocks. But as far as like cash generation goes, that's a 2035 story. Um, but yeah, I think that touches up all the sectors. I kind of lob in communications and technology because those kind of go hand in hand at a high level. I mean, net of the media companies and telco companies, but you know that's another story altogether. So that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm looking at as far as that goes.
All right. That's awesome, man. Make sure everyone checks out Monty's links. I'll put the links down in the description. And Monty, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Remember, guys, if you want to talk to Monty, he's also in the Discord. Username is Bigger Texas, and you can always at him if you have any questions or anything. He's easily reachable there. Not quickly reachable, but easily reachable.
Yeah, me.
And, yeah. But thank you so much, Monty, for your time.
At it at the end.
Wait,
Usually on there like in the middle of the day and at the very end of the day.
yeah.
So that's like what at
and
11 to 1 and 2 a.m.
Yeah, right before the Easter crows.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, man. And Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay.